Hey everybody, it's Pam and Bill at Country Living Newbie Custom Decor in Spring Hill, Tennessee. We're actually in Columbia, Tennessee from our home. And I think we've only done maybe 1 or 2 lives from our home before, so we hope this is going to go okay. We're kind of out in the middle of the country on 7 beautiful acres, so fingers crossed our wireless is going to play nicely tonight. So if you follow us on our page at Country Living Newbie, I posted a picture of the front of our house today and asked for recommendations on colors to paint our very boring front door. So the color we chose is going to be Hampton Olive. Let me make sure
Thank you.
the lid's on. That could have been bad. So Hampton Olive, I feel, is like the sleeper color of the silk line. It is a gorgeous kind of...
It puts you to sleep?
Great. No, it needs to wake us up. It's kind of like an olive, well, Hampton Olive. It's kind of an olivey color. And I just think it's going to be gorgeous on this front door. So before we get started, please let us know where you're watching from. And we're so glad you're here. We're here every Sunday night with you guys at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. We'd love for you to follow us over on our page at Country Living Newbie after this video. We do lots of fun things over there as well. We are an elite Dixie Belle retailer. So you can find your retailer. I put the link up in the description for your local retailer. You can also purchase from us through our affiliate link if you don't have a local retailer. And also please join the Chalk Mineral Paint Enthusiast group. Tons of inspiration found there. All right. We're gonna get started. Let us know if you've used silk before. I am loving silk, and I'll tell you one of the things that kind of made my decision on what to use on the front door was I don't have to seal it. Okay, silk has a built-in sealer. It's also mildew and UV resistant, so it's actually perfect for a front door. So there is a little bit of prep involved when you use silk. You want to always clean with White Lightning, so we did that. This is, it's a wood door. It did have a bit of a shiny urethane finish on it. So the White Lightning did knock some of that shine down, but we also scuff sanded, and you do want to scuff sand with silk. After you scuff sand, re-clean, and just wipe off all that dust. You don't want anything coming between your surface and your paint, right? You want a nice clean surface.
Explain scuff sand.
Scuff sanding, and I get rid of the sandpaper. We used a 220 on it, but a scuff sand is really just kind of rubbing the sandpaper across the surface. We're not wanting to sand it to bare wood. You don't need to do that. You just want to give the silk paint something to grip onto. You hear it referred to as giving the surface some teeth. So it just kind of just gives a little teeth to the surface. So you always want to do that with silk. Okay, you don't need to do that with chalk mineral paint, but you do need to do it with silk. So we've already done that, and you want to use a good brush with silk. Silk is a little bit different than the chalk mineral paint, and you'll feel it once it's spit it out. It's a good different. It's a very creamy, silky paint. So you want to use a really good brush with it to minimize your brush strokes and to promote the best self-leveling. So we're going to use the oval medium. This is my favorite for silk. I like it even above the mini, which the mini's hard to beat. But this is my absolute favorite silk brush. So we're going to see how quick we can do a front door makeover.
Kendra's either asking or stating, so no boss or slick stick.
Nope, not on this. So let's talk about boss for a quick second. Slick stick has the equivalent of 1 coat of, did I say slick stick? Silk has the equivalent of 1 coat of boss in it. So if you have a piece that might have some bleeding, you might get away with just using the silk. If you have a mahogany or cherry piece and you're painting it white, I would still recommend using a coat of boss, at least 1 coat. That will give you the equivalent of 2 coats of boss. Now, if you're going to use slick stick on a laminate piece with the chalk paint, you would still want to use the slick stick with your silk. So in the same circumstances, I would still use the slick stick. I hope that made sense.
Do you mist this like the chalk mineral paint, asks Jennifer?
Jennifer, no. No, in fact, it's not, it's recommended that you don't use water with this, and you'll find you don't really need to. It's a much it's a much creamier paint. Like the chalk mineral paint won't do that. So it's definitely a different consistency, so you don't really need to use any water unless you're spraying it. Okay, then you can use up to like a 10% ratio of water. And you know what? This is gonna be moving. Wait till you see how quickly we do this door.
Steph Ann asks, why no slick stick?
On this particular piece, we don't need it. It's a wood door, and with the white lightning and the scuff sanding was all we needed to do. There's no reason to use it. A slick stick is made for slick, slippery surfaces. So a laminate, a plastic, a marble, something with no pores and no teeth for the paint to hang on to. The paint would just kind of, a glass, it will just kind of slide around. This is nothing like that.
Kendra says, I went to spray my chairs in salt water and it wouldn't stick, so we painted the slick stick on and we'll spray it tomorrow. Hope it works.
So, did you paint the slick stick over the paint that wasn't adhering? Because that might be a problem for you.
And did you scuff the chairs prior to painting?
So you can message us, Kendra, with some details if you want, just to make sure you got the process. Yeah, because if your paint wasn't adhering in the first place, if you put slick stick over the paint that's not adhering, that's not going to work, because your paint is still not going to adhere and your slick stick is it's all going to come off. Does that make sense? Your slick stick should be on the surface, the very bottom surface, and then your paint on top of that. There's some really deep grooves in here. Actually brought out an artist brush to get in there, but this brush has nice long bristles, so it's going to get in there, no problem.
And besides the detail work and the moldings, it's oak. And I hate oak. The grain in oak is so deep that especially, and I spray everything, so even spraying, it doesn't get into the grooves. You really need to get a brush sometimes and brush the paint into those grooves of,
yeah,
in the grain.
Yeah, they're pretty heavy duty in this door. But the slick stick goes, why do I keep saying that? The silk goes right into those grooves, again, because it's thinner than the chalk mineral paint, so I'm not really having any difficulty getting it in the deep grooves in the oak. This paint is also washable, so again, it's the perfect front door makeover paint. So for right around $60, that's your silk paint, your white lightning, and a decent brush, depending which one you get. You know, the minis are in the $30 range. This one creeps up there a little bit. So for 60 to 65 bucks, you can redo your front door.
Nice.
Nice. Nice. And I'm kind of in a corner here, so I hope you guys can see and I'm not blocking everything.
You are.
I am? I'm going to have to open the front door pretty soon.
Deb Oliver says, we know how much you like using a brush, Bill. I'd rather clean my paint guns than clean a brush.
But these brushes are not bad to clean, the silk ones.
No, the silk comes right off the brush. It's
yeah.
pretty, especially if it's a nice brush like the one you're using. So Heather asks, since it's a front door, will you seal it when completed?
I'm not going to.
Negative.
It's behind a storm door for starters. But even if it wasn't, I'm under a porch. Silk has a built-in sealer in it, so I'm just going with it. I think it's going to be fine.
Yeah, we're also facing, this door faces north, so it gets no sunshine, even though this does have some UV protectant.
Good one. You remembered that.
Yes, I did. And Yvonne asks, the brush is reusable? Only if you clean it.
You must clean it. This is the medium. I think it's my absolute favorite Dixie Belle brush. I love the mini, but this one is like, it's my jam.
And this is Hampton Olive, right?
Yes.
Some folks showing up late and just wanting to know what color it is.
Hey guys, thanks for joining. Little bit different scenario tonight. We're at our home.
We're not in our studio, or your studio.
I share it with you if you need it.
Only when I need to run the camera.
So I'm just getting in this really deep groove here.
So someone asking, does it need to be sealed after? I experienced peeling off the next day. If you're ever experiencing peeling, it is usually, not to be insulting or anything, it's usually a prep thing. You didn't clean properly, you didn't wipe off the cleaner properly, or if it's the silk, you didn't sand or scuff sand properly.
Yeah,
other than that is the only time we've ever had any
and that's not
problems.
Meant to be picking on you.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Because we hear this, you know, sometimes with the chalk mineral paint too, and sometimes there's just some kind of weird resistor on the piece that you're painting. So maybe you did do everything right. You know, you cleaned, you scuff sand, you rinsed, you did all that. But there's maybe some weird oil on there that maybe you need to do mineral spirits with.
Yeah, I've cleaned pieces, and because I'm a little bit more experienced with it, run my hand over it and go, this still doesn't feel right, and have needed to clean sometimes 2 or 3 times in order to get to where it's a good surface.
Because, I mean, if you have something with oil on it, like something that was waxed previously, a scuff sanding is not necessarily going to remove that, right? So it is recommended with silk. If you think if your piece has been waxed, you must use mineral spirits. So there is a little bit more prep with silk on some pieces.
Got another question. How many coats will we do? How much will it take? I have that door with a panel on either side.
I'm going to do 2 coats.
I guess the answer to that really is you're going to do 2 coats, but it really is whatever it takes to cover.
Yes, but I believe it's also recommended for the toughness and the protection that you should do 2 coats.
At least, right.
Yeah, even if you get good coverage on the first coat, I would still do a second coat just to get a little more protection. And this is going to be enough probably for my door and your door. You will barely use any of this paint. When we're done with this door, I will show you how little paint that we use. It was a brand new jar.
And we got Alicia asking, what is White Lightning?
White Lightning is Dixie Belle's most amazing cleaner. Now you don't want to go cleaning your kitchen cabinets and your coffee tables with it.
We got a bird on the porch.
We got a bird. Oh, he's a little one.
Yeah.
There he goes.
Squirrel. Sorry.
Sorry, guys. We live out in the country, and like birds just like, I don't know, we have to stop and ooh and ah every time we see one. So
White Lightning is trisodium phosphate, and it dissolves oils.
Yeah, it's got some other proprietary ingredients in it, I would say, that degrease and de-oil. But it preps your furniture for painting, so you always, always want to use it on every single thing you paint with Dixie Belle paint. The first thing you should always do.
So Kendra is asking, she has the rad pads, so what's the grit that we would use with the rad pads?
For scuff sanding, we do about a 220 for scuff sanding, so I can't remember. It's not the white. The white is the coarse one. So I would go like light to medium. I forget what the color is. And I'm kind of
it's gonna be different depending on what kind of wood you're using as well. If you use a 220 on oak with no finish on it, you may not even touch the surface. If it's pine, you may go very deep with 220. So try a 220, try a medium grit on the rad pads, see what the surface feels like. If it feels like it's rough, you're good to go. If it's still smooth, try a heavier grit.
On this is oak. it had a heavy urethane finish on it. So I was able to get it really dull, no problem at all, just knocking off with the 220. So for this piece it worked, but like Bill said, there's not always like one right answer.
Yeah, you gotta feel it and see what it feels like. If it still feels smooth, it's not enough.
You gotta get all the feels.
You use white lightning on raw wood?
No.
No, not necessary.
No. Good, great question though. Yeah, because I said on everything, right? You don't need to use it on raw wood. I mean, if you want to just give it, if it needs a light sanding, if it's been sitting like, you know, out in the shed for a while.
So will silk work? Susan asks, will silk work on my fiberglass door if I use slick stick?
Yes. Yeah, we had someone use the chalk mineral paint on a fiberglass door, and it worked beautifully. This would be the same. But yes, I would use slick stick in that scenario. All right, I've been dreading coming down to the bottom, but. And you can load your brush a little bit more with silk than with the chalk mineral paint. I tend to load it up pretty well because it'll spread around for a while. The paint self-levels like a dream.
Deb Oliver asks or says, I love your chicken wind chimes. I didn't even know I was, I guess the bird got, I was looking more at the bird than the chicken wind chimes.
And you'd laugh at our house because we own a small business, home decor store, and we sell the paint and refinish furniture. But we order a lot of outdoor fun items, wind chimes and wind spinners and things like that. And we always kind of get some broken things. You know, the glass on the rain gauge is broken or whatever it may be. So our house is filled with all the broken items. So we're like the island of misfit home decor items. We have a flamingo in the back, a solar flamingo with one wing. We have a solar wind chime, but the solar doesn't work. That's kind of what our house is like. We definitely will not have a misfit front door anymore, though. And I don't know if Dinah Thomas is on, but she was the one who suggested this color. And we love it.
Just to let everyone know, we're kind of stuck in this little alcove here where our front door is. And we've got our lighting hooked up, try to get as much light in here as possible, and
feels dark.
This is about as close as I can get.
Yeah, because usually you're coming in and
yeah, getting
a close up.
But then I'll get in the way of the light and we won't see anything.
Well, I'll be done with the bottom here in a second.
So Linda's asking, and I think we had this question earlier, do you recommend a sealer if your wood door is behind a glass storm door, but it is in direct sunlight? If so, which sealer?
The silk paint is UV resistant or UV protective. I'm not sure the right term. So where like gator hide is a great sealer, but it's not necessarily UV protectant. So you could probably just go with the silk in that case, but if you were going to seal it and it gets a lot of direct sunlight, you'd have to use, what's the
spar urethane.
Yeah. You need an outdoor sealer with UV protectant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should I use white lightning on a piece of wicker I'm going to paint with silk?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep. I'm sorry, guys. I know this is a horrible angle. And you want to wait at least 2 hours in between coats of silk.
Before a second coat?
Yes. Yep.
Same thing if you're going to top coat it.
Yeah. Yeah, wait at least 2 hours. Again, silk is a little bit different than the chalk mineral paint. It's going to feel real dry pretty quickly on the top, but it takes a little longer to dry underneath. It's an acrylic-based paint, dries from the top down. So if you feel it and it's dry and it's only been a half an hour and you go to repaint, you could very easily pull off what was on there.
How long does it take to cure?
Give it at least 3 to 4 weeks, minimum 3 weeks on silk.
And Stephanie Peterson is asking, does this work on metal in Minnesota? It works on metal in any state.
Except Minnesota.
Except Minnesota, right?
We love you, girl. Yeah. Yeah. So metal's a funny one. I've never used...
So Dixie Belle is saying 21 to 30 days.
Yeah.
For curing.
At least 3 weeks. Thank you, Dixie Belle. So metal, to me, is kind of a funny material. You'll see a lot of recommendations to use slick stick on metal. To me, it depends what the metal is. Like, I have a bucket at the store that I painted an owl stencil on with Dixie Belle like 2 years ago. And it's been outside, it's got no sealer, it had no slick stick, and it's perfect. But if I was to paint metal like this, I would definitely slick stick it. It depends on the surface. So with silk, I would say if you're gonna slick stick it with chalk paint, slick stick it when you use the silk.
So Joanne Kerr or Russ Kerr, sorry, can't read. Joanne says, our front door was wood, spray painted it. If I ever wanted to paint it with Dixie Belle paint, would I sand it down to bare wood? No.
No. I mean, as long as your paint isn't like chipping off, because if it's chipping off now, if you paint over it, you know, it's going to chip off again. So as long as it's a good surface, clean and paint away.
And Rosemary is asking, will you be painting the inside of the edges, and would that make the door stick?
Oh, here?
Yeah. It would not.
Yeah, I will be painting that, not tonight.
Yeah, but it wouldn't make the door stick.
Now, I wouldn't close it right away.
No, because there's, in fact, we're not going to be able to, because as you can see, there's that black weather stripping will go right up against the painted door.
Yeah, I went ahead and I painted that because I couldn't be too careful on the bottom.
Oh, okay, I see.
Is that what you're talking about? What are you talking about? Oh, that?
The black weather stripping.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Dale Johnson, are you able to show a close-up of the paint in the container?
Yes.
As long as she brings me the container.
I will. I will. You guys are asking great questions tonight. Keep asking. We love to answer them. We want to make sure you have the best experience with this paint. So, let me, let's do this. So.
Amy says hi.
Hey, Amy. So I'm going to just kind of stir it up, and then that's the consistency. So a lot different than the chalk mineral paint, right? You don't need to add any water to this. It is not recommended to add water unless you are spraying.
Unless you're spraying.
And even then, it's minimal.
And looking at how the paint flows off of that knife, that plastic knife, when I add water to my Dixie Belle paint when I spray it, it's not that far off as far as the consistency. So with this stuff, I might only use maybe 5 or 10% water to make it flow through the gun.
So I didn't tape off this hardware, and we didn't remove it. So I am getting a fair amount of paint on it, because I'm trying to be quick. But hopefully that will come off. And I think, let's see.
And that color again is?
Hampton Olive.
Hampton Olive, and
yes.
It is of the silk line.
Yes. And we'll bring you in for a close-up to show you the coverage. And I think I'm just going to not worry about painting on the glass because we can scrape it off.
Hampton Olive.
So I did do 2 coats on this bottom panel, and I'm going to show you why, because we might see it in another spot, and I'm going to explain to you something very important to know about silk and its blocking properties. Hopefully it's going to show up somewhere else on here.
We got a girl from Kuwait again watching.
Hey there.
And someone from Scotland.
Hey guys. Thank you so much for joining us on a Sunday. We will be here next Sunday night. I know it's Mother's Day.
Have we had anybody watching from the poles yet?
North and South Pole? What? From where?
No, Poland. Of course, yes. North and South Pole.
Well, I think Mr. Claus was on back in December.
Oh, he was way too busy to watch our videos.
No, he was on. He was making sure everyone got their Dixie Belle paint that they ordered.
All right, so Missy Collins is asking, so you're supposed to add a little water to Dixie Belle chalk paint? I've only used it once to paint some table legs.
You don't have to. And the colors are different. So some of the colors, the pigments are real heavy and the paint can get a bit thick on you, or if you leave the cap open for a while, it can get a bit thick. So a lot of folks will use a mister bottle, which I don't have because we're not using it with the silk. There's no, have to or don't. It's totally how the paint's going on, what you're painting. The paint will go further if you add a little mist. So I just take my brush and I mist it a little bit, and then I go into my paint. You can mist your dresser or your piece or whatever you're painting.
That's what I do.
That's what he does. It's totally personal preference, but I would say the majority of people do use a little bit of water in some way with it.
All right, Jan is asking,
Thank.
the west sun beats down pretty hot and heavy here in Texas.
Yeah.
What would I need to do to protect it from the elements?
So if you're painting your front door, you gotta take a drink of water, guys. Hang on.
Let's see if we can find the bird while she's doing it. No?
Sorry about
Okay.
that. Losing my voice. So there is, and maybe Dixie Belle can help answer this one, but there is a UV protectant in it. Personally, if my door was, in the blaring Texas sun, I would probably put some spar urethane or an outdoor sealer on it. It just sounds like you need a little bit more than maybe we need on a covered porch.
Yeah, I mean, because gator hide will do very well as well.
But it doesn't have the UV.
But if it's getting direct sunlight and direct rain and wind, the spar urethane is probably the best product to use.
Yeah. All right, so I think we got everything covered. I'm really hoping to have a little bleed through on this. And if we don't, I'll just kind of explain to you what to do. Oh, here. Okay, I don't know. Can you?
All right.
We're going to try to come in a little bit.
We're going to have some camera shaking.
Sorry, guys, but I want to show you this is important about silk. So there's woo!
I told you we were going to have some camera shaking.
You can take it off the tripod. Wow, take it off the tripod. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. So on this door, there's a spot right here. Oh, good, you can see it. Where the finish rubbed off. And now that the paint is drying.
The top coat of the original paint, what you're saying.
Not the paint, yeah.
The top coat.
Yeah, so the urethane or whatever it was. So the wood was a different color. Let me close this. It kind of looked like this. So the finish had rubbed off, okay? Especially where I scuff sanded it. So it was a lot lighter. And it's coming through. Okay. Now, the silk paint has the built-in blocking primer, but you may see some bleed through on your first coat. Let that dry at least a couple hours. Do your second coat and you will not have bleed through. So I had a big area over here. It was about this big that bled through, and I waited a couple hours. I did my second coat and it's completely covered now. So it's really important to know that the primer in silk, it may not block the first coat, but generally on the second coat, you're gonna be fine. Now, watch your back, honey. Now he's got to back up through
tripods, lights, pets.
Oh my God. Yeah, we have 2 dogs, 2 cats, 12 chickens, little chicks outside. It's crazy. But that's really important to know about the silk paint. But always, especially with the whites, okay? With the whites, you might notice the first, sometimes even the second coat. Don't like try to paint over it right away. Let the primer work for at least 2 hours. If you can wait overnight, even better, even better. Because primers, whether they're bonding primers or blocking primers, really should be on overnight before you put your coat of paint on. So really kind of same principle with the silk paint, but it's got a really good blocking primer in it.
So Diane asks, when would you expect to have to repaint the door under a porch without a lot of direct sunlight or elements? And I think the answer to that is we have no idea.
I don't know. I would hope not for many, many years. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it would be several years before. Actually, with you, it'll probably be 6 months when she wants to repaint it a different color because she's sick of this color.
Because I want to.
We'll probably repaint it because of the color, not because of it's lost its integrity.
Yeah, this is the first piece I painted that's actually going to be getting, with silk, that's going to be getting like outdoor exposure. So I'm just kind of going by the instructions and the recommendations and what Dixie Belle says silk can do. So
and maybe Dixie Belle would answer that question.
Yeah,
what are we looking at as far as longevity of a door if we do not protect it from the with a top coat?
Yeah, I think it's a hard question to answer.
Yeah, I think it is.
Sure. All right, well, so what?
Because I don't even know if the product really hasn't even been out
It's only
long enough to be able to see.
But I mean, it's only been out not too long.
Yeah.
So, how long have we been? We did a front door, and we probably could have done it quicker, if we were just not giving instruction. But guys, you can do a front door makeover for around $60, $65. And in a couple of hours, because in 2 hours, technically, I could put another coat on this and we're good to go.
Megan Jordan says, nice.
Aw, hey Megan. Megan's my daughter. Showing some love. What do you think?
Amy says, I painted my front door about 3 years ago and it still looks like the first day I painted it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the chalk paint, it's been around and we kind of know what it does. We'll be the tester for silk.
Yeah.
In about 10 years, we'll come back on and we'll be like,
I'll put it on my calendar.
Look at our door. So anyway, guys, I think that wraps it up for us. Unfortunately, this gold metal in here, what do you call this? Like what they put on stained glass, it's inside the glass. So I would really love to do that in like a bronze tone, but I can't get to it, so.
I could take the molding off and then pull the glass out and then separate the glass pieces. Yeah. I don't want to do that.
No. And I won't ask him, he'll kill me. Yeah. So, all right, guys. We will see you next Sunday night, and we hope you can jump over. I don't know why I cannot tag our page in the description. I put the @Country Living Newbie, but it won't put the link there. So I'll have to go back in and edit that after. But we are @Country Living Newbie on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and everywhere. So please follow along with us. We do all things Dixie Belle, so you'll learn a lot and we enjoy teaching it. So we'll see you next Sunday on Mother's Day. Bye, guys.